Welcome, friends. It's Ray. Thank you so much for joining me today. In today's video, I'm making cards with the Simon Says Stamp Season of Sentiments February card kit. I'm doing a collaboration with Skeeta of Tifly Designs, so I will link her video below. Be sure to check out what she has done with the kit. And I am just quickly showing you what's in the kit. Won't talk because I want to keep this brief and move on to show you some card processes as well as just some card makes. This kit is full of goodies, and I did not use everything that was in the kit, but I tried. Let's start with our first card. I have placed the large orchid rose bouquet in my MISTI along with a 6x8 piece of mixed media paper and prepped it for heat embossing, and will stamp this large image with Versamark ink. I inked it up twice and got a very good impression. So I'm going to move on and use some Hero Arts gold embossing powder to heat emboss this image. I use a dry paintbrush to remove the embossing powder from places where I don't want it. This mixed media paper is fairly thick, so I start my heat gun on the back, and then once it gets really hot, I bring it to the front and watch the beauty and magic of heat embossing happen. I love this step. Next, I'm bringing in my pearlescent watercolors and using water brushes to apply some of the pink, and then we'll come in with some of the lilac or purple. I am not a seasoned watercolorist, but am really just testing this mixed media paper out for the first time. I've used watercolor paper, but wanted my background to be black. I thought that would stand out really well with the gold and then the pearlescent watercolors. And so I am just cleaning my brush after each color and just roughly going in and adding color to my image. And I am by no means an expert. This is really easy. So if I can do it, I know you can do it. After I'm done with the flowers, I come in with some green and color my leaves, and then go back and touch up some of the colors where maybe they were light. But this is turning out to be very nice. Loving it. I did speed this up quite a bit because I wanted you to see the end result. And here I am just wiping that anti-static powder off of my image, and then I'm going to take it and cut off 2 3/4, and I am now trimming off just a sliver of the top, and I have 2 images for 2 cards. I love it when I can get 2 for 1. So here I'm mounting the largest of the 2 images that is 3 1/4 by 8 inches. I am mounting that on gold cardstock, and then I will trim that down so that I have a border that is about 1/8 of an inch. I'm using the Love die by Simon Says Stamp and cutting it out of 110-pound black cardstock and twice, and we'll use liquid adhesive to affix those together. And then I've cut it once out of same gold cardstock, and we'll mount that to the top. And then I have it cut out of, or the shadow cut out of vellum. I use my Ranger multi-medium matte glue. It's a light glue. I use that to affix all of my layers together. I use my tweezers to get a hold of my sentiment, turn it over, add glue, and then I can affix it to my shadow vellum layer. I did matte my focal image in gold matte onto a black mat so that I had a double mat in the end, and then used double-sided tape to affix that to my white card base. And I'm using 120-pound cardstock, accent opaque, for my card bases. I am using my liquid adhesive, placing it just on the back of the sentiment letters, and then placing that on my card front. Now I'll bring in some pale gold in the Nouveau Crystal glitter drops and place 5 drops of that on my card, and that finishes this card. Card number 2 is a mini slimline card that measures 3 1/4 by 6 1/4. This is part of my panel that I cut down to 2 3/4. And I have taken my punch board and used the corner rounder to round the bottom edges of my panel. I also rounded the corners of my card base. I matted this with the gold cardstock just as I did with card number 1. I also round off the bottom end of the gold cardstock. I trim a sliver off of the top edge and will mount that onto my mini slimline card base using double-sided tape. I've prepared my sentiment for this card, same as I prepared the one for card number 1, and this is the Hugs Simon die, and it has a large shadow. And so I'm going to use liquid adhesive and to fix that to the front of my card. I add 3 dots of the Nouveau Pale Gold crystal drops to finish off this card. Card number 3 is a slimline card that I made off camera using some of the beautiful pattern paper that's in the kit. And I used some of the mauve glitter paper that came in the kit and cut out the Miss You sentiment from the kit. I die cut the Miss You die from the kit twice from 120-pound white cardstock, and used liquid adhesive to affix those two together, and then placed my glitter cardstock on top. And now I'm applying some Elizabeth Crafts gold glitter peel-offs. They are flat and perfect for cards that you want to mail. And I'm doing the same for card number 4, just adding the embellishments on camera here, but I will leave the measurement. Both cards 3 and 4 use the same design, and just wanted to show you a variety there. Card number 5 is also a slimline card, and this is a double time stamping technique that I've mainly seen Stampin' Up! Demonstrators use. But here I am using Bristol Smooth watercolor cardstock and have used some temporary adhesive to mount uh, my top cardstock to the bottom cardstock, and I'm placing my large orchid rose image into my MISTI. I have placed some acrylic underneath so that I don't transfer any ink that's left on my stamp to my cardstock. I prepped my panel for heat embossing with some anti-static powder, and then am using Versa Fine Onyx Black ink to stamp my image, and I'm going to stamp it a couple of times to make sure I get a very good impression. So that looks pretty good, and I applied some clear embossing powder to my both my pieces, and will heat emboss both those pieces. So afterwards, I place my panel back on the bottom layer, line it up and place it on, and then I am going to use some of my Gansai Tambi watercolors and am just bringing in some red and some white and mixing those together to get a pink. And am just going to use my watercolor brush to paint in my florals. Nothing fancy for me because, you know, I'm relatively new at watercoloring, but I will bring in a pink and then I will bring in um, green. If I get too much or too high of a concentration of pink, I can go back in with more water and lighten that pink color up, or go in with more color and darken it if I want it darker. So I like the control that I get with watercolors. I will list the colors and all card measurements over on my blog, so be sure to check that out. But here I'm bringing in my green, and I've switched to a regular number 6 paintbrush. I like it, you know, that it's a very round pointed brush, so I can get into more narrow areas, so that's why I switched. So again, nothing fancy here. Coming back in and removing some of the green where I kind of bled over the sides. I'm just applying clear water and cleaning that up. And now I'm coloring my back panel with the same colors. So here I am using some of the gold watercolor and am just applying a large amount of water to that gold and using it to splatter gold all over my panel. I wished I had put this in my splat box because I had a time cleaning up the gold from my mat. So next time use a splat box. Um, or I should say, next time I will use a splat box for sure. So just doing some touch up here, making that pink darker on my back panel. You can let this dry on its own, but I'm bringing in my heat tool and drying this panel so that I can move on with the rest of my card. Next, I mount my top panel to some of the pink cardstock that's in the kit, and I leave about 1/8 of an inch margin. But at any rate, I am now affixing this matted panel onto my bottom card stock with double-sided tape, lining it up. In addition to my normal double-sided tape, I'm adding some extra on the inside of that panel since this was watercolored, and I didn't have a lot of warping, but I want to make sure that I've got a good hold when I place this on my card base. Next, I have stamped the sentiment "You are wonderful" using versified onyx black ink, and heat embossed that with clear embossing powder, and then just fussy cut it out and left a shadow around that image. And now I'm placing it onto vellum, and then we'll place that onto my card front. I didn't want anything that was going to take away from my beautiful floral image, so that's why I chose vellum. For embellishments, I am bringing in some iridescent hearts by Pretty Pink Posh. I love these because they take on a tint or hue based on the colors you're using in your design. This is one of my favorite designs. Let me know in the comments which card you like best. Card number 6 is a slimline card that uses the patterned paper from the kit. And I have mounted patterned paper onto uh, a blue card mat, and this is cardstock from the kit. And now I place that onto my card base. I cut out a circle, a stitch circle, cut it in half, and using one of the panels, the cut aparts from the kit, the paper in the kit, and have mounted that onto using mounting tape. So, and then used um, a border to frame it, and we'll place that on my card. I love the pattern paper in this kit. I am bringing in my eraser to erase some adhesive that shouldn't have been there, and then deciding which embellishments I want to use on this card. I brought in some Drescher Crafts sequins, and we'll place just a pink heart on the cut apart, and then I will bring in those gold glitter gems from Elizabeth Crafts and add a few more embellishments to finish off this card. Card number 7 is just like card number 6, same design layout, and but just wanted to show it to you on camera. I am adding the same embellishments here that I used for card number 6. Card number 8 is also a slimline card, and with this card, I love the pattern paper so much, but I had run out, by this time I had run out of some of the cardstock that came in the kit, so I pulled in the green cardstock from my stash and wanted to show as much of this pattern paper as possible. I really didn't want to, I had a hard time covering this pattern paper, but I know I needed to do that. Otherwise, my card would just be plain, but I love this pattern paper. So I'm bringing in a stitched circle, and that is covered with some pink dotted paper from the kit. And Next, I'm bringing in a vertical banner that I've cut on an angle, and this sentiment strip I have matted on that same green, and it is from a Simon Says Stamp Slimline strips set. So it's already pre-stamped, and I just cut it apart. I love it. You could use paper shims to layer this banner, vertical banner on the cardstock, but I found that my cardstock was thin enough because, yeah, most of this is about 65 pounds. So it was thin enough where I didn't really need or I should say, I could get away with it. And so that's what I decided to do. I used my craft tacky glue to affix it, but you surely could have used shims if you felt the need to do so. But again, being so thin, I wanted to get away with it. So I'm going to go ahead and affix my sentiment strip to the front of my cardstock, and I did, or to the front of my panel. I did use some shim paper on the right side of that sentiment strip just to make sure that it was level with the rest of my card. Then I'm using double-sided tape to place this panel onto my card base, and I will come in with some Doris rhinestones, and that finishes off this card. Card number 9 is also a slimline card, and I love this pattern paper. I cut out one of the floral clusters from one side of the pattern paper and fixed it to my slimline panel so that I would have roses in the top, on the top and on the bottom. And so I did mount my cut apart onto some mounting tape and place some of my scallop circles on either side to give it some depth. And that added my Elizabeth Craft gold glitter circles, and that finished this card. Card number 10 is an A2 card, and I used some Bristol Smooth cardstock and the sentiments from the small stamp set, the 3x4 stamp set, and placed them on the card like you see there. Heat embossed them with VersaFine Onyx Black ink and some clear embossing powder, and then used a watercolor wash, the turquoise color, on top with my paintbrush, and then let that dry, and then brought in some of my gold glitter shimmer spray and Elizabeth Craft glitter peel offs, and I actually die cut that using an MFT wonky frames die and mounted it onto some Simon Says Stamp cardstock, and then applied it to the card base. And used another one of those pre-made sentiment strips. Thanks a bunch. And I've made an 11th card, a bonus card. And here I have used the MFT wonky stitched frame dies and cut out a panel from the pattern paper using the second largest frame. And then out of Simon Says Stamp Fog card stock that was in the kit, I cut out the largest of the MFT frames and matted that on black cardstock. Next, I have stamped You Are Amazing sentiment from the kit, and I am trimming that down. I did use Versamark ink and heat emboss that using alabaster white Brutus Monroe embossing powder. And I cut the U off of that sentiment. And could have masked it and just not stamped it, but wasn't thinking. Here I am applying some liquid adhesive and will affix that to my card panel. Once that sets a bit under that acrylic block, I will turn it over and trim it off with my scissors. Then I will pair that with the U from the Missing You die in the kit. I'm just using the word U. I die cut that twice from white cardstock and once from the mauve glitter cardstock in the kit, and affix those together to add dimension and affix that to my panel. And here I am bringing in or affixing my panel using double-sided tape to my fog and black mats. And then I will affix this to my black card base. I cut out another panel from that pattern paper and affix it to the inside, and I can write my sentiment there. I am bringing in some Dress My Crafts sequins to embellish my card, and I'm just going to use one of the pink hearts from that sequin pack. Next, I'm going to bring in some Simon Flamingo sequins. This came in a kit years ago, so not sure if it's still available, but I'm going to apply or add two of the pink sequins from that pack to round off this card. Love the way it turned out. Had this vision in my head and had to make it into a card. Let's take a look at all of the cards I made in today's video, and be sure to check out the video by Skeeta of Tifly Designs. She has made some beautiful cards with this kit also. If you like this video, please be sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe if not already a subscriber. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. Until next time, good day, friends.